Form SS-4 application for employer identification number. An EIN or employer identification number is used for tax purposes for business entities such as sole proprietors, corporations, partnerships, estates, trusts, and other entities for tax filing and reporting purposes. It is a 9-digit number that is unique to each employer. You do not have to use Form SS-4 to apply for an employer identification number if you are located in the United States or one of the United States possessions. You may apply for and receive an EIN free of charge on irs.gov. If you do use Form SS-4 to apply by mail, then you should expect the process to take at least 4 to 5 weeks before you receive the EIN. So be sure to put that into your planning for tax purposes. If you do not have an EIN by the time a tax return is due, you should write applied for and the date that you applied in the space shown for the number. Do not substitute your Social Security number as an EIN for tax returns. And you should only file one Form SS-4. If you are overseas, you may apply by telephone by calling the IRS at 267-941-1099 from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. This is not a toll-free number. You may be charged long distance and international rates. The person making this call must be authorized to receive the EIN and answer questions concerning Form SS-4. We'll go step by step through the instructions on this one-page form, starting with page 1. Legal name of the entity or individual for whom the EIN is being requested. If you're an individual, such as a sole proprietor, enter your individual name, not your business name. Trusts, enter the name of the trust as it appears on the trust document. If this is an estate, enter the name of the estate. If the estate has no legal name, enter the decedent's name followed by estate. Partnerships, enter the legal name of the partnership as it appears in the partnership agreement. For corporations, enter the corporate name as it appears on the corporate charter. And for plan administrators, enter the name of the plan administrator. A plan administrator who already has an EIN should use that number. For line 2, enter the trade name of the business if it is different from the legal name. The trade name is the same as the doing business as or DBA name. In line 3, if this is a trust, enter the name of the trustee. For estates, enter the name of the executor, administrator, personal representative, or other fiduciary. If the entity that is applying has a designated person to receive tax information, enter that person's name as the care of person. Enter the person's first name, middle initial, and last name. Line 4A and 4B constitute the mailing address. You'll enter the mailing address for the entity's correspondence. If it's located outside the United States, you must enter the city, province, or state, postal code, and the name of the country, not abbreviated. If line 3 is completed, enter the address for the executor, trustee, or the care of person. This address should be used on all tax returns. If the entity is filing Form SS-4 only to obtain an EIN for Form 8832, then use the same address where you would like to have the acceptance or non-acceptance letter sent. For lines 5A or 5B, enter the entity's physical address only if it is different from a mailing address. Do not enter a post office box here. For line 6, enter the physical location of the county and state where the business is located. Line 7A and 7B, you'll enter the full name and social security number, individual tax identification number, or the employer identification number for the entity's responsible party. And a responsible party is defined as the person who ultimately owns or controls the entity or who exercises ultimate effective control over the entity. Unless the applicant is a government entity, the responsible party must be an individual and not an entity. For line 8A, 8B, and 8C, you'll answer questions as to whether or not this is a limited liability company organized under either state or foreign laws. In 8A, you will check the appropriate box whether or not this is for a limited liability company. If you answer yes, enter the number of LLC members. And if 8A is answered yes, then 8C, you will answer yes or no as to whether the LLC was organized in the United States. For line 9A, you will check one box if whether or not the type of entity is a sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, personal service corporation, church or church-controlled organization, other nonprofit, estate, plan administrator, trust, military or National Guard, a federal government entity or a state or local government entity, a farmers cooperative, or another entity. Check the box that best describes the type of entity applying for the EIN. If you believe that your entity could fall into more than one category, check the form instructions to understand which category best suits your entity. For line 9B, if it is a corporation, then name the state or the foreign country, if appropriate, where it is incorporated. For line 10, check one box only as do not enter NA or not applicable. You will check one box. You either started a new business, in which case you specify the type of business. You hired employees, and you're required to file employment tax returns. Do not apply if you already have an EIN. For compliance purposes with IRS withholding regulations, for baking purposes, if you changed the type of organization, if you purchased an ongoing business, do not use the former owner's EIN unless you became the owner of a corporation by acquiring the stock. If you created a trust, then specify the type of trust that you created. If you created a pension plan, specify the type of pension plan. If you need more detail, please see the form instructions. In line 11, you'll enter the date that the business was started or acquired. In line 12, you'll enter the closing month of the entity's accounting year. An accounting year or a tax year is usually a 12 consecutive month period, which can be a calendar year or a fiscal year. A calendar year is 12 consecutive months ending on December 31st. A fiscal year is either 12 consecutive months ending on the last day of any month other than December, or a 52 to 53 week year. For line 14, check the box only if you expect your employment tax liability to be $1,000 or less in a full calendar year, and you want to file Form 944 annually instead of quarterly Forms 941. If you expect to pay $5,000 or less in total wages, your employment tax liability will generally be $1,000 or less. If you do not check the box in line 14, then you must file Form 941 for every quarter. In line 15, annotate the date in which you first started paying wages or annuities. For foreign applicants, this is the date that you began to pay wages in the United States. And if the business does not plan to have employees, you may enter NA or not applicable. For line 16, check the one box that best describes the principal activity of your business. If your business does not fit into any of the existing categories, you may select Other and then write the type of business that your activity is engaged in. Line 17, indicate the principal line of merchandise sold, specific construction work done, products or services provided. For mortgage REITs, indicate mortgage REIT. For equity REITs, indicate what type of real property, such as residential, non-residential, mini warehouse, commercial, etc. For line 18, check the appropriate box to indicate whether or not the applicant has ever applied for and received an EIN. If this is the case, then write the previous EIN in line 18. Third-party designee. You will only complete this section if you want to authorize the named individual to answer questions about the completion of Form SS-4 and to receive the newly assigned EIN. You must complete the signature area for this authorization to be valid. And just below the third-party designee area is the signature field for the applicant. Name and title, followed by signature and date. And on the right side, you'll have phone numbers and fax numbers as applicable for both the designee and the applicant. Please note that these signatures are sworn under penalties of perjury and that you are declaring that this is the best to your knowledge and belief that the information is true, correct, and complete that you are submitting. On the back of this form, this document, you do not need to complete it, but it does walk you through whether or not you need an employer identification number, depending on your situation, and which lines you should complete in Form SS-4. That completes our review of Form SS-4, application for employer identification number. If you want to read, we've written an article that goes step by step through this form. You may find it on teachmepersonalfinance.com. Simply type in Form SS-4 into the search bar and our article should appear. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or observations, please post them in the comment section. Thank you.